Let's go, darling. Don't waste your money.
But 17 is the number on my classroom door. It's the third door on the right, just past the cafeteria. Custis Road Elementary School in Davenport, Iowa.
I had Twitter up earlier and I saw that RFK has said he would support a national ban on abortion after 3 months if he was president.
Really?
Yeah, so he's really all over the fucking place.
I would be very curious to see all of the people who are donating to him. I know there's been like some big Republican donor who donated a bunch to Trump is supporting him, but it's wild how everything that he's talking about is like a wedge issue that hurts Democrats. It's and I guess he's got Dennis Kucinich running his campaign, so he's like probably the right guy to do that. He's been pissing off Democrats for a long time.
Yeah, and he became a Fox News guy at some point.
Oh my god, I don't even know that.
Yeah, during when Trump was president, Kucinich got a Fox News job.
Oh my god, it's wild.
All right, Rock Hard Caucus is back. This is episode 118. This is our coverage of August. It's our coverage of the Iowa State Fair on August 12th. We are recording this on August 13th. It took way too much out of us to record immediately afterwards. We've had about 24 hours to recuperate. How are you feeling?
I'm still pretty beat up. I'm still tired. My legs hurt. I think I hit 1,500 steps the first day. Definitely getting my exercise in.
Do you mean 15,000 maybe?
Yes, 15,000.
Just making sure.
Yeah. No, I was actually driving a little scooter around all day, many of the other Iowa State fairgoers. Yeah,
there are a number of those mobility scooters on the grounds. And I was saying as we were leaving that would have been a nice thing to have.
For sure.
Even if you don't have any impairments, it would help you get around because it's a shitload of walking.
Yeah, there were also those Transformers guys who had the little suits with the little like wheels that they hold on to and are like on their legs so they can turn into a little car. It would be nice to have one of those too, except it's not very comfortable to like basically do the downward facing dog with your little.
You got to fold up.
Yeah, but those guys were really cool. The kids were loving it.
Yeah. They were cool, yeah. Okay, anyway, yeah, I'm back home now in Coralville, so we're recording this over Zoom, so we won't be hitting quite as hard, I don't think, but we're also sleepy.
Yeah, I mean, we were destroyed when we recorded the last one, so.
Yeah, 2 full days, hot sun, beaten down, taking emotional and psychological damage, listening to these candidates that should not be running
and unleashing their insanity.
Day 2 began with Vivek Ramaswamy in a fireside chat with Governor Kim Reynolds. And going into this, I did not know much of anything about Vivek. As you had pointed out, he was rising in the polls. He was number 2. He had surpassed Rondee Santis at some point. So obviously there was some momentum going on behind him, but I didn't know why. I didn't know anything about this guy. And I came out of yesterday afraid of him.
Yes. He's basically Trump without the baggage. Like, he's what people were talking about when they're saying that Trump is going to open the doors for more like insane politicians who are more competent or, less personally like ridiculous. Though Vivek is ridiculous, but I think he comes off to maybe someone who's not paying attention as much as more of a normal person. Like, he seems like he's like a reasonable guy if you're not like listening that closely. And I think he's like a shapeshifter who very much is saying things dependent on his audience. Because I watched some interviews with him that were not at the Iowa State Fair, and he comes across more reasonable.
Yeah, less hardcore, like Christian conservative, which is, we can talk about that a bit too, the religion aspect of it.
God is real.
Yeah. So, I will say, Natalie was with us at the fair, and I'm sorry she's not here now. It would be fun, but this is a constant battle with this podcast, is getting schedules to line up, and we felt that it was more important that we get this recorded as soon as we can than like wait for the stars to align. So apologies to everyone. I know we all miss her.
We miss her
presence. Yeah. I mean, we just saw her, but the podcast misses her. We had a great time with her. She was, she was with us all day. We saw a bunch of awful shit together, and there will be a few anecdotes that involve her as we discuss this. But we were also, we arrived like on time, just about on time, right? We didn't see him introduced, but it wasn't a Doug Burzum situation. We did see most of the Fireside Chat. And Jake and Josh of the Progress Twitch stream arrived shortly after us, too. So we got to hang out with those guys, and they were very fun. We have similar senses of humor, I feel.
Yeah, it was good to meet them, and it was good to mess with some reporters with them and blend in among the ridiculous Republicans at the Iowa State Fair.
So I took this photo. Actually, the reason I brought up those guys was because they pointed out to us that Vivek is he's Hindu. He's an Indian man, and that's his religion, is Hinduism. But he seems to be presenting himself to white conservative middle America as some kind of Christian. And I took this photo the first day we were there. Sorry, that looks like shit on the webcam. But when we passed the Republican booth in the Varied Industries building, they had this little thing set up that looks like the 10 Commandments. I think this is a Vivek thing. They had his 10 planks set up there. Number 1 is God is real.
Yeah.
So that feels deceptive. And, getting ahead of myself, but we saw him at the soapbox later that day, and he said explicitly that he believes in a singular God, right? Didn't he use that language, one singular God?
Yeah, I believe so.
And that's not what's going on with Hinduism, to my knowledge. I believe that is a polytheistic religion.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I'm curious to what his connection is to Hindu nationalism in India, because that's with the Modi government, that's kind of a big thing right now.
Yes.
I think it's more they have common enemies, namely Muslim people. So there's a huge there's some stuff going on. There's some weird stuff going on with Israel and India, where there's this mutual admiration going on, and it seems just to be, again, just based on mutual hatred of
the other. Yeah. Enemies of my enemy, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, and I don't think it matters, to the average Republican voter. Is he saying the right stuff? It's they don't really care about authenticity. Yeah.
I'll save that.
But for some, for sure.
Yeah, I'll save that anecdote as well. But like you said, as long as he's saying the right stuff. And the rest of these planks, and this is a big one, number 2 is there are 2 genders. This is the second most important thing to the Vivek Ramaswamy campaign, apparently. This is number 2 on the list. There are 2 genders. And actually, I saw a billboard to that effect on my way to your house when I was driving back to your place Friday night. This is something he's really pushing. And I feel it is contradictory for this to be such an important thing, such an important message for you to push, while simultaneously he says stuff like all the rest of them about how America is so divided right now and we need to heal this divide and get back to our common values. This is a very direct and aggressive attack on people who disagree with your rigid binary gender ideology.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's just picking an unnecessary fight in order to drive a wedge and drum up support among the ignorant.
Yeah. it's normal. It's the same process of like normalizing fascism by being a fascist. I think it's safe to call him a fascist.
Definitely.
And then try to paint it as being something that's, very normal and reasonable. And like I said, that's why he's fucking scary, is because he is a better messenger of that than Trump, I would say. But I don't know ultimately what he's going for. A lot of people are speculating he's trying to be vice president under Trump. And also like Trump, he doesn't really believe. I very much question what he actually believes and very little of it, I think.
Or at least
just
probably
saying what he
actually
needs to say.
To him.
Yeah, but he's definitely the most competent public speaker. Obviously, it's very rehearsed, but
he's disciplined.
He knows how to work the crowd in a way that I don't think any of the other politicians that we saw were able to.
Yeah, absolutely. Going into this, I was comparing him to Andrew Yang because I had just a superficial knowledge of him. He's a young Indian man. He's 38, and he just brought out these hats that say truth. This is part of his branding, much like the math hats of 2020. Just single word, truth. That's the power of a single word. But he is 100 times more charismatic than Andrew Yang was.
Yeah, for sure.
Number 3 is human flourishing requires fossil fuels. He is all in on fracking, oil, all that shit. I read an article that I think the Register put out about him where he acknowledged that the Earth is warming and it is caused by the activities of humans, but it does not matter, and we still need to double down on fossil fuel extraction. This is the next evolution of climate denial. Not even denial, climate acceptance and refusal to change.
Yeah, I don't think that's so far off from. I don't even really. I know like people still do deny it, but it seems like that hasn't really been a debate so much as more as it's just like, what can we do about it, or it doesn't matter, or even some people are like, there's positive benefits. Like if you want to go vacation in Canada, when it's not burning, forests aren't burning. It's nonsense, obviously, but Vivek has got some crazy rhetoric. Like when we first showed up, he was talking about all of these poisons hitting America at the same time and how it's not a coincidence. And he was talking about fentanyl, but then he was talking about there's not just fentanyl, but there's financial fentanyl. And I guess that
actually, what did that mean?
That's I don't know. I guess so. I guess it's like probably related to like being dependent on the government. But then he was also talking about TikTok, digital fentanyl. And talking about how China is using TikTok and social media to weaken American culture, and like 60% of young people would rather lose their right to vote than their right to use TikTok.
That's a big statistic. I did not verify. I don't think we've fact checked much of anything we heard this weekend. But I'm willing to accept that statistic because the value of the vote has declined precipitously throughout the course of American history. A vote was worth a lot more back in the 70s than it is today.
He also harps very heavily on founding father stuff. He loved talking about Thomas Jefferson. He talked about how everyone under the age of 25 should have to take a civics test, similar to his parents did when they immigrated here.
Right. Yes.
Which
is that is that in order to earn your right to vote? Was that his deal?
I I don't know, but I wouldn't be
Or
surprised.
are we supposed to be killed if we fail the
I think
civics test? It's the right to
Yeah.
live. It depends on that.
I mean, maybe it is. I feel like that would be pretty unconstitutional.
Sure, but like we said, you said he was a fascist earlier, and that's it's sort of a Starship Troopers thing.
It is.
Citizenship is not guaranteed.
It is unconstitutional, but apparently he is proposing an amendment to the Constitution that would ban people from voting if they are not able to pass the civics test before the age of 25.
That's fucking crazy. He's just trying to get media attention with that.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, he's doing a good job.
One of those like common dumb guy opinions is that actually the voting age should be raised, or we should have some sort of poll test, or
He's like the only candidate who really has just embraced the ridiculousness of Trump and like understands the appeal of it. Like all these other guys are just so boring. Like they're not. Yeah, the Republican base wants red meat, and you like have to give it to them. And it's not just like saying that you hate gay people.
That's not enough anymore.
It's not enough. You have to be like intensely provocative.
Yeah,
for them to attach to you.
Yeah, and that's sort of what it is. Not everyone has the juice that Trump had when he was rising to power. It's an understanding of earned media.
Mm-hmm.
You earn it by being fucking crazy.
They can't help it. I mean, journalists love it. They can't help but publish whatever nonsense.
Yeah, we love the scandals and the inflammatory language. Let me quick run down the rest of these 10 commandments. There are 10. So he is explicitly appealing to the, as they call it, the Judeo-Christian tradition. Big stone tablets with 10 rules, that gets at our biblical brains and makes us want to vote for Vivek. 4, reverse racism is racism. 5, an open border is no border. 6, parents determine the education of their children. 7, the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind. That one feels like a little old school.
Yeah, that's a loaded one.
Number 8, capitalism lifts people up from poverty.
Yeah, I mean,
classic.
Standard.
Number 9, there are 3 branches of the U.S. government, not 4. 3 is underlined. Initially, I was interpreting this as anti-newspaper. The Fourth Estate, is that the term for that?
Yeah. Fourth Estate. What was the fourth one? I heard him say that. I don't think I registered what he was talking about.
Like bureaucracy in the deep state is what that's talking about.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Cool.
And this is one of those things where there's like an element of truth to it. Like the everyday goings on of all of our institutions that's really run by unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats who we do not vote for, do not have term limits, things like that. And the people that we actually vote for, that's more of like figureheads and it's all for show.
Yeah. I mean, that falls under the executive branch, but then, of course, with the Supreme Court, they're constantly trying to strip out those powers that the executive branch has. Like the EPA, like they're attacking all of these agencies, like 3-letter agencies that don't necessarily have, they enact policies that are not voted on by Congress.
Yeah. Speaking of the 3-letter agencies, Vivek said he would shut down the ATF, among other 3-letter ones, but
basically all of them. Actually,
yeah, it was a lot of them, but the ATF stuck out to me. I feel like they don't talk about shutting that one down often enough. That's a fun one to talk about.
He's talking about closing down the CDC.
Yep, of course.
Yeah, though I don't think anyone else said that. I mean, that seems like
not explicitly.
It's crazy.
There will never be another Waco under Vivek's watch. And the 10th commandment from Vivek Ramaswamy is the U.S. Constitution is the strongest guarantor of freedoms in history. That one's stupid.
Yeah, I think they're all kind of stupid.
Well, okay, yeah, that's fair. They are pretty stupid. overshadowing all of what was actually said during the Fireside Chat is that at the end of it, he chose Lose Yourself by Eminem as his walkout music. And when they played it, he actually rapped along with the first verse. And I could play a clip of that now. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go.
Now the clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Up there goes gravity, up there goes gravity. He's so mad, but he won't give up. He goes back to these notes, his own back to these notes, his own back to these notes, he goes back to these notes, he's so sad, he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab, and he knows the soul rap, so you better go capture this moment and hope it don't catch you.
Just wanted to make sure I got to that part where he almost falls off. Kim Reynolds acted like she had no idea what this song was. Do you believe her?
Yeah. Well, Eminem's a Democrat. She probably saw the his little thing at was it the Grammys? Yeah, he did the little rap where he did the Trump coffee pot thing.
Yep. That's right. Yeah, she has to know who Eminem is. I mean, that song itself is
she does
20 plus years old.
Yeah. I also saw a lot of people saying like, "Oh, this isn't like going to resonate with the crowd because they have never heard of rap music."
If you weren't there, you don't know. Yeah, it
wrong.
It hit. Everyone was happy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another thing he did like immediately after, maybe during, was he had a bunch of it's like a band of revolutionary war revolutionary war like guys in tricorner hats and their little kids with like bonnets and they were all dressed, I was like, it's so hot. It was just
it was
uncomfortable. And
it was a colonial fife band. They were playing drums and little flutes.
Yeah. And that's another thing, that a lot of his campaign merch has back to 1776 stuff on it. And also he's like, I'm not incremental change is not me. I am for revolution. He's harping on revolution. Yeah, dude. Which again, that's what they want to hear. That's what people want to fucking hear. The GOP people, like DeSantis is calling for revolution. That's something he said at his soapbox, which was later in the day. And why don't we talk a little bit about that too, rather than bouncing back and forth? Yeah. So yes, we saw him later in the day. This colonial fife band started playing after both of these events, so they were definitely following him around. I believe you looked it up, and he supposedly has $680 million. Yes. Right? He is a former pharma executive and asset manager, which is two most moral occupations that you can have. Yeah, so he's got plenty of money to spend on having a fife band follow him around the state fair. While we were waiting for him to start at his soapbox, and I should say it was way more crowded yesterday than it was on Friday. And I think that's two factors. It's the actual weekend, and candidates that matter a little bit more were actually present that day. So while we were waiting, Josh from Progress, he overheard a Vivek staffer asking a passerby if they wanted to stay and listen to Vivek do his soapbox appearance. Do you remember what this passerby said? I did not. This goes back to the religion thing we were talking about at the top. The guy said, "No, he's a fucking Hindu." Oh. Damn. So there are some people, your average person may not care, but there are some people who are like, if he's not Christian, fuck him. He can't be president. Yeah. And I don't know. Do you think he can beat that? Well, he's not going to win presidency. No, I don't think he can overtake Trump, but. No, but he would be an appealing vice presidential candidate. I do think that. I mean, the fact that he's an Indian man probably makes him. It probably helps his appeal a lot, because more a lot of people are like running mate. Yeah, because it's like the same sort of thing where it's like, well, how can I be racist if I am supporting a Hindu Indian man? It kind of assuages people's like whatever guilt they have. Republicans are significantly less guilty than Democrats.
Might not be guilt, but more of like an airtight defense against accusations of discrimination.
Well, I think
much like Larry Elder going up on stage and reading all the Stormfront statistics.
Yeah. Not many people like personally consider themselves racist, even among Republicans.
Yeah,
but
no.
How could it? Who knows? We can't look into people's hearts or whatever that fucking whatever that shit is.
The revolution thing. He said he's not down with incremental reform. He stands on the side of revolution. So I had to raise my fist for that. Mm-hmm. Vivek is a comrade. Revolution. Ooh, this was fun. So truth is a big theme of his campaign. And, the people want to know the truth about the Hunter Biden laptop. But also, the truth about the Nashville Shooters Manifesto. Not a lot of people talking about that right now.
I forgot about that, but we all looked at each other and we were like, what the fuck is he talking about? And then I guess the Nashville shooter, and I remember now that was, I don't know if that's even confirmed to be true, but they were supposedly trans, I think.
Oh, was it that one? Okay.
I think it was that one. So I think that might have something to do with it.
Yep. And it makes sense because this is part of his talking about all the poisons that are harming the nation, such as wokeism, gender ideology, COVIDism, climatism, fentanyl. Mm-hmm. The epidemic of suicide was part of it.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, like the Christian thing or the Hindu thing, I don't think matters as much because he's like saying these are secular religions. And I am a man of faith who stands against these things in favor of, a spiritual sort of thing.
He also got on the fatherlessness thing, much like Larry Elder from the day before. Quote, stop paying people to live in fatherless houses. I said, get a fucking dad, lazy ass.
Yeah, what the fuck is that? Man.
Yeah, I mean, what does that look like practically? We refuse to provide single mothers with any resources because that disincentivizes finding a man to provide for you. So it's like government funded dating services, maybe.
I feel like he might. Yeah, that might be something that he would be in favor of.
That honestly sounds like an Andrew Yang type of thing.
Yeah. He also brought out his wife and frequently referred to her, and she is a doctor. Natalie referred to her as a real doctor. Natalie referred to her as the prettiest woman that she has ever seen.
She said hottest.
I don't know if hottest. Okay, you're right.
There's a difference.
I don't know that I agree, but she was, I would say, doing an excellent job of being the candidate's wife. She had a beaming smile across her face the entire time, was looking at him with admiration. And when he brought her out on stage and she was game to talk about because someone asked, your wife's a doctor, so what food around here is okay for you to eat?
Oh God, I hate that. Some dipshit tries to ask every candidate about the food. Like, shut up. Yeah, we get it.
We love it.
Deep fried Twinkies. Like, ha ha ha.
Yeah, she ate half a funnel cake. Doctors eat funnel cakes too, and it's totally fine.
The real doctor thing I assumed was a dig at Jill Biden.
Yes.
And I regret to inform you I was not wearing the Dr. Jill Biden ray gun t-shirt that Evan got for me at the fair. Yes. I chickened out. I felt like I would get yelled at if I wore something that said Jill Biden in these crowds.
Natalie, however, was wearing the ray gun t-shirt that I bought her.
She did not chicken out, and she was wearing something much more crazy.
The one that said, I'd rather have cum on my face on the sleeves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People are not scared to wear the F word on their clothes anymore. There's a lot of fuck Joe Biden stuff out there, and
I feel like a lot of people enjoy going to the fair or any sort of large public gathering to show off their offensive t-shirts so they can trigger people.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Trigger the state fair libs. All right, what else from Vivek? Yeah, we talked about how it seems like he might be angling for a running mate position. However, when an audience member asked if he would accept the VP position, he said, much like Donald Trump, I don't do very well in a number 2 position. And he pivoted to saying, talking about what he would look for in a vice president. He does not want a mediator. He wants a bulldog.
he's also talking about when I leave office in 2032.
33, I think.
Technically
January 2033. I only remember because he said it several times.
Yeah.
All right, so jumping back in time, back to the Fireside Chats. After Vivek was Nikki Haley, and I have next to nothing to say about her.
No, she was very boring. It was interesting that she affected a Southern accent that I don't know if she normally speaks with.
She played that
She
up.
was talking a lot about, growing up in South Carolina and only having 2 stoplights in her town, connecting it to Iowa, where many towns only have 1 stoplight. Mm-hmm.
One thing I did like that she said was, I can't wait to fire Mayor Pete.
Yeah, because all of the planes are running behind, which is 100% his fault and not, like the corporations.
Yeah, it's his fault in the sense that he's not willing to enforce any regulation or take action against the private airlines.
Mm-hmm.
But direct responsibility is those private airlines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, her walkout music was I Love Rock and Roll by Joan Jett. All right, cool, but very generic. We got to stop the military from doing gender pronoun classes.
Mm-hmm.
China has been planning war with us for years. They're going after every farmer. They're stealing seeds from Iowa. They have hypersonic missiles. They're doing cyber. They're doing space. They can alter the brain activity of American soldiers. Okay, I knew there was something interesting in there.
Yeah. And she was also like, the Chinese have placed a code on U.S. computers that are going to take our networks down, and no one can detect it. It's just like complete gibberish.
They're going to do Chinese
Y2K
to us.
She's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of China fear mongering from all the candidates, but I think she hit it the hardest.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense given her foreign policy background.
Yes. One more thing, she does want to have competency tests for politicians who reach a certain age. Chuck Grassley, of course, would easily pass these competency tests.
Mm-hmm. Which is funny because I think right before that, during Vivek, Kim Reynolds was talking about Grassley's out here and he's still just as spry as ever. I remember. Yeah, she didn't say anything about Grassley at the point, but that actually did get a big cheer from the crowd about term limits. Because I think that's a pretty popular position, across the board. Another
dumb guy opinion. Term limits would fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when Nikki Haley was finishing up, we were sitting in the back at a picnic table. And this is when the reporters noticed, there's some people under 50 years old present. We need to talk to them. So we kind of had them lining up trying to talk to Jake specifically because we had a young black man with us. Now that is a unicorn at these Republican candidate events. So Jake was getting a lot of attention from the press yesterday. He talked to a Politico reporter and I didn't hear all of what he said, but I know it was making Natalie laugh.
He basically said that he was here he was most interested in Vivek, but that he was concerned about Vivek because he didn't know if he shared his Judeo-Christian values as a Hindu. And I mean, again, we stood out, I think. Well, obviously because we're younger, but Josh was, I think, wearing a Ray Gun t-shirt. Natalie was wearing a Ray Gun t-shirt.
So we were styling. We were all very stylish.
Yeah, and Natalie was just laughing.
I was wearing a Girl God t-shirt.
Yeah, you were wearing a Girl God t-shirt too. Yeah.
Nobody ever seemed to recognize what that was.
We stood out, but this Politico reporter was completely oblivious. It seemed like to the fact that he was being fucked with, and I mean, he seemed like he was like excited to get a scoop. So if you see Jake being quoted in any Politico articles, you know what happened.
Yeah. I haven't scoured the press trying to find those quotes yet, but I hope they're out there. I think those guys are going to be streaming while we're recording this, and maybe they found something. And then after that is when a Huffington Post reporter came up to talk to us. Her name is Liz Skalka, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she was very nice, but she kind of caught on that we were fucking around. Yeah. Natalie couldn't stop laughing, and then we all got to laughing, and she was like, "Hey, why are you laughing?" Mm-hmm. It's like, how can you not?
And then we had a nice little conversation, and she ended up following the podcast because, yeah, she was very nice, and like I said, she caught on real quick compared to the other guy.
Yeah, so if her boss at HuffPo is listening, don't get mad that she followed a podcast called Rock Hard Caucus. You should be proud of her for being able to distinguish between trolls and genuine people in the field. Like, give her a raise. Okay, so Rondee was next. I was, to be honest... Oh, wait.
We forgot about the plane.
Yeah. Before he came out, there was a plane started circling overhead, circling the fairgrounds with a banner flying behind it that said, "Be likable, Ron." Just poking fun at how he's not very personable, not very charismatic. I don't know that this has been confirmed 100%, but everyone has agreed that this was paid for by Donald Trump.
Yeah, and apparently it's a Matt Gaetz quote. I looked it up. And
really?
Apparently it's something that Matt Gaetz said when DeSantis was, I think it was like a while, like 2017 or 2018 or something.
Oh, this is a problem that goes way back for him.
Yeah.
People recognized early on that this is not a guy who does well with the public.
Yeah. So yeah, it was definitely a Trump thing. If it was not Trump's campaign himself, it was some organization working on his behalf.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Matt Gaetz, he was actually at the fair. We didn't see him. But again, this is getting ahead of ourselves a bit. But Donald Trump himself was at the fair yesterday. And I think he mostly made an appearance just to dunk on Ron.
Yeah. He brought the entire Florida congressional delegation, or at least most of them, to stick it to Ron.
Right.
We saw his jet, but we didn't see him.
Yeah, that's right. We did. We saw his private jet fly over while we were waiting for either Marianne or RFK. Mm-hmm. But yes, all of the House Republicans from Florida are supporting Donald Trump instead of their own governor, which is probably one of the final nails in the coffin, right? Maybe third or second to last nail. Maybe losing the Florida primary will be the final nail.
Man, yeah.
So there were some protesters in the crowd for Ron. He's the biggest name aside from Trump, but he's the biggest name in the race right now, and has made a name for himself being super anti-LGBTQ and anti-immigrant and all this shit. So of course he's the one who attracts the negative attention.
I think it was the most crowded event of the day, possibly.
That might be right,
with Vivek's soapbox.
Yeah. Like I said, much more crowded today at everything almost. Okay, so I was barely listening, and then I ended up missing most of Ron's talk with Kim because he gave me diarrhea. Mm-hmm. Ron DeSantis gave me diarrhea.
He's a virus himself. A gastrointestinal virus.
It's airborne. Like if you hear him speak, there's particles coming out of his mouth that will zoom into your body and give you diarrhea instantly. So be careful out there if you're covering Ron DeSantis. You might want to wear a mask or something.
Mm-hmm. He was boring. You didn't miss anything. There wasn't really anything notable.
I had just seen him before that in Coralville, too.
Oh, true. Yeah. There were some people with bells. I guess we were on the opposite side, so we didn't really hear it. But Kim Reynolds immediately started castigating them. Yeah, and her very shrill voice. We were standing right next to the speakers, so loud and annoying.
She went into disciplinary grandma mode immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is Iowa. We don't do that kind of thing here.
We don't blow whistles over the sounds of Florida governors telling us that we can't be trans. Respect
there was
him.
also a lady over by us who was holding up a pretty small pride and trans pride flag.
Yes,
which was nice to see.
Obviously, our sympathies are fully with her, but she was standing directly underneath a big umbrella, so her flag could not actually have been seen from the stage. So it's a bit of a, I don't know, kind of a lost cause there.
Yeah.
Ron's walkout song was Sweet Florida, which I did not know what that was, but Natalie told us this was a song written by remaining members of Leonard Skinner specifically for the Ron DeSantis campaign.
Yeah. The funny thing, he did mention that we were making fun of him because he said Leonard Skinner instead of like Leonard Skinner, which might be a little unfair, but Josh definitely pointed that out.
Well, yeah, it's all wise. So it's supposed to be actually Leinard Skynard.
Yeah. Skynard.
Speaking of Nards, we did see Pat Reinard very briefly.
We did?
The party Nard.
Yeah, Mike also cut out at the end of his speech, and I guess someone yelled out Trump. I saw that reported. I didn't hear it myself.
No. And I also saw videos on Twitter of state troopers dragging some of the protesters out of the crowd, which seems, really unnecessary. Like I could hear, I mean, we were right by the speakers, but I could hear what they were saying completely, and I could barely hear the protest noise. So like, just fucking endure it. It's like 20 minutes.
We did also pick up some hand fans from one of the DeSantis staffers. I'll say they were very, very poor quality. I was wearing sunscreen, and apparently the sunscreen just strips the dye right off of them. So I had like gross blue hands all day. But I will say that holding on to the fans did, like, we had multiple people like come up to us and just start talking to us because they thought we were DeSantis supporters. And most of the questions we had were like, where is everyone? Where do I find, like, what is going on? Like, what's the schedule? Like, where's Trump? Where's Ron? Do you know what's going on? I have no idea.
Yeah, sorry, man. We're just about as lost as you are.
Pretty much, yeah. We're pretty much in the same boat.
Yeah. There was that, while we were over by the soapbox, there was this, like a college Republican in, like, a button-up wearing a Ron hat. And he was like hours late, and he came up to us like, "Hey, do you know where Ron is?" It's like, "I don't know, dude. Like, the only thing he had scheduled for today is over." He's like, "Oh yeah, so where is he now?" It's like, "Who the fuck do you think I am? I don't know." Like, go find the pork chop grill and see if he's flipping meat over there.
Yeah.
Do you remember Ryan Binkley?
A little. I mean, I remember the hats. I remember the hats. I remember he brought out his wife and talked about, he's like a mega pastor guy.
Yes.
He brought out his wife and was like, yeah, my wife's from Korea. We've adopted all these Korean children. His whole thing was like, it really was just a mega pastor speech. Like, faith. He's like, he's an entrepreneur. I don't even know what his other job is, but he founded some church in Texas. And actually, other than the other hat that we'll talk about, all their gear said like "believe" on it.
Yes, believe.
It was very, very nondescript. Like, you think that you would like lead with the name recognition instead of just like, like Perry Who. It was a lot better than any
as
of his
goofy
merch.
as that is.
As bad as that was.
At least the name is in there. Yeah, he's not the only one doing that, putting out merch that like doesn't even say who the guy is. Well, yeah, speaking of Ryan Binkley hats, he has a hat that just says WTF on it, and below that it says Way to Freedom. Natalie thought this was super funny, and she wanted one, so she asked one of the staffers about it, and you have to give a $1 donation. So, guess who paid for that WTF hat? Yours truly.
There's also multiple people who walked by and were like, who is this? Like, I could see people just like asking whoever they were with, like, do you know who this is? He doesn't. Yeah, wasn't very charismatic. Just really nothing to latch onto.
All about restoring faith in America. We lost the Alamo of Christian conservatives is one thing he said. Talking about losing urban voters, the Republican Party losing urban voters. Do you remember which city the Alamo of Christian conservatives is?
Fort Worth is apparently the Alamo of Christian conservatism. And I guess he was referring to the fact that it went blue for the first time in 2020. So
that's much like Mexico taking the Alamo.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, I mean, people have been like predicting that Texas is going to go blue sometime anyway, just because of demographic shifts and stuff. So
yeah,
I mean,
I guess it really is like Mexico taking over, huh?
Yeah. Don't know much about specifics on that, but I mean, I know Fort Worth is a relatively large city, so it's not going to be that surprising to me if it goes Democrat.
Yeah. Yeah. Some crank, Ryan, to his credit, took some audience questions, and a crank yelled out to him a question about the agenda for a new world order and one world economy. It was not a very nuanced or detailed discussion of this topic, but Ryan says he will definitely stop the agenda for a new world order and one world economy. You can count on him.
He does not support one world government. Was like a big sigh of relief from the crowd.
Great. Thank God one of these guys knows about the NWO. Oh, speaking of hats, this is not about Ryan Binkley, but I did want to mention this. Hats that don't say anything about the candidates. After we saw Perry Johnson, we were looking at his merch online, and he's got a hat that says "Abolish the FBI." And it doesn't say Perry Johnson on it. It might say it on the back of the hat, but it doesn't show that on the website. So it looks to me like it's just a hat that says "Abolish the FBI." So guess who spent $1 on a hat that says "Abolish the FBI"? Me. I feel like we could potentially bankrupt Perry Johnson by ordering clothing items from his online store. Yeah. My brother-in-law Jake pointed out to me that you can buy. The store limits you to 10 of every item in each size, so you can get like 10 small T-shirts, 10 medium T-shirts, 10 large T-shirts, 10 extra large T-shirts, 10 hats, 10 of this hat, etc., etc. And every single item on the store is $1 and free shipping.
Wow. He's not as rich as I thought. He's only net worth $150 million.
Well, he's burning it all on this campaign.
Yeah, I know. I compared him to Tom Steyer, but Tom Steyer is at least a billionaire. I'd say he's more Tom Steyer in demeanor and approach than he is as far as the backing. He's my favorite freak that we witnessed. He's just his rictus grin.
He's fun.
He's just so funny. He's yeah.
And speaking of him just burning money, I found out today that Perry Johnson mailed a copy of his book to my father unsolicited.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, that may be true. You know, if anyone else has any registered Republicans in the family, ask them if they've got a copy of 2 Cents to Save America or whatever the fucking book's called.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah. I'm sort of pretending I don't know, but trying to sound cool. Yeah. Like I don't really know what it's called.
To keep in line with apparel, shortly after we saw Ryan Binkley, we saw a woman wearing it was a U.S. Cellular shirt. However, on the back of it, it had "Sounds of Freedom" with plural sounds made from those little like jewels, like plastic jewels that you like. Glue onto.
Is that called
Bedazzler?
Bedazzler, that's what it is. I was going to say Bejeweled, but that's the game.
That's the game, yeah. It was wild. You couldn't even get a blank T-shirt.
Yeah. It's like a shirt you got at the company picnic, or like the U.S. Cellular tent at the farmer's market, and you don't even know the title of the movie, the Save the Children movie.
That was awesome.
I question that woman's dedication to saving the children.
Mm-hmm.
So there were 2 Democrats present. There are a couple of, kind of fringe Democratic candidates trying to primary Biden. Obviously, I feel like Joe Biden should be primaried, should have a serious primary challenge. Unfortunately, he does not have a serious primary challenge. He has 2 weirdo primary challenges. Marianne Williamson came on after Vivek, and I must say I was a bit disappointed.
Me too. I thought she was a better speaker than she turned out to be. I had not seen her before this, though. I mean, I thought she had some decent debate performances in 2020 or 2019.
Yeah,
but
my feeling is that she's kind of toning it down this time around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she was fine. I mean, she basically just, hit on the same themes that she normally does, like economic justice.
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, yeah, she did not do much at all or anything like woo or spirituality, really. She didn't talk about love that I can recall.
Yeah, I mean, most of the criticisms that people have of her is that she's like a self-help grifter, which is a fair criticism. She's just selling self-help books, which tell you give you questionable advice about curing your terminal diseases and things like that. But that's what makes her fun, is like the weirdness. And like, she only said stuff that I agree with on stage, and that's no fun.
No, she didn't even mention COVID. Yeah, I mean, she did. She talked about how, like, one of the most important thing a president is a moral leader. And she also said that she would only intentionally only serve one term because she would govern like no other president you've ever seen.
Yeah, like there's no chance of re-election.
There's no chance of re-election.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, she's talking about doing policies that ostensibly would be very popular among the people, sort of an FDR style thing, who was the most electorally successful president ever. The reason that they instilled term limits on people. I mean, it would be nice to kind of drill down on that with her. Maybe like, why wouldn't you have a chance at re-election? Are you implying you would be?
Are you worried about the deep state?
Or yeah. I mean, it's all theoretical, hypothetical, because it's not going to happen. But it'd be maybe fun to get her thoughts about that. We need to reclaim the rambunctiousness of the American spirit. She does. Yeah. As much as I say I was disappointed, like, she does choose vocabulary that's pretty unique. Like, I love the word rambunctious, and she's the only one who said it, so I give her props for that. We do need to reclaim the rambunctiousness of the American spirit.
And she talked about, the lack of imagination among leaders and sort of the closing off of political options that are allowed to be expressed, which I agree with. Yeah, I mean, she was fine.
Yeah, I don't have much.
I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny that people are that mad about her, because, like, I mean, she criticized Biden a little bit, but it's like nothing that is going to be a surprise to anyone. It's just like general, he's too friendly to corporations, which is like true.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she's saying anything we don't know or is wrong. I like her in general. It's just like, why even pretend that this is anything serious? She closed by saying, "It's time for us to slam it."
Yeah, that was awesome.
I can't tell you what came before that, but "It's time for us to slam it" is the greatest closer.
This is how I see it. We are sometimes slow to get there, but when we do get there, we slam it like nobody's business. I'm Marianne Williamson. I'm running for president. It's time for us to slam it like nobody's business.
After that, though, if I was disappointed by Marianne, she sort of fell short of my expectations. This guy was the total opposite. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. blew my fucking mind at the State Fair soapbox.
Probably the weirdest thing that we saw at the fair, maybe.
Yeah, we saved the best for last.
In a good way.
Yeah. Nikki Haley did go on after him, but we would have fallen asleep and never recovered if we stayed for that.
Yeah, it was very hot. We'd been out there for like 15 hours.
Yeah.
Total,
Cumulatively.
over
Yeah.
the last 2 days. Yeah.
I was burning the shit out of my knees, so we had to get out of those chairs.
I got a little bit of a sunburn. Not terrible.
Yeah, they drop, if you want to, the Des Moines Register is all about punishing state fair attendees. So for their soapbox, they place you in direct sunlight with no shade at all. And they know,
Black
like, if
chairs.
Yeah. They know if you're here to see these people, you deserve to be hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were very close to the front too. It was fun.
Yeah, second row for both of these. Yeah, Marianne and RFK.
One of the funniest things about RFK is before he came out, 3 very obvious security people came. There's a guy sitting directly in front of him. There's a guy to the left of the stage and a guy to the right of the stage that all had little collar, like pins on their collar that like clearly identified them. You called out the guy who was sitting facing us.
Yeah. I mean, he was sitting.
And he did like the.
We're in real close quarters, and he set up a chair in between the front row and the stage in the like 12 inches of space that was there facing us. Dark sunglasses, shaved bald, a little earpiece in his right ear, and just scanning the crowd from inches from their faces. I was like, hey, man,
you called him out.
You security? Silence. No response.
Yeah.
Like a
we were
royal
joking
guard.
he should be wearing the royal guard hat.
Blocking our view of RFK, the tall, black, fuzzy hat. All right, so RFK came out. This guy is controversial. I said at the beginning of the show, he said he would ban abortion, or he would support a ban on abortion after 3 months. Fuck that. He's spent much of his, quote, activist career fighting vaccines. Even before COVID, we're talking like, the vaccines cause autism type of stuff.
Yep. Antidepressants also, he doesn't really like
the
pharmaceutical industry, which is a, pretty common thing, but, he's definitely, he was kookier than, at least this cycle so far, he's kookier than Marianne, I'd say.
Yes. He
said that
weirder.
COVID was like targeted towards certain ethnicities or something.
Right. It's spared the Jews. I know that made headlines. COVID was designed to spare Jewish people. Now that's the style of a conspiracy theory that's a little concerning. Once you get into the Jew stuff.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's unfortunate
but
that
again,
it always seems
like,
to go that direction.
Yeah, it's crazy what he's doing, and it really does. I mean, whatever. You can't prevent people from running for president if you're like a Democrat, but it does seem like he's specifically harping on issues that are going to hurt Democrats, or there's a lot of people who like Biden but probably don't like the COVID. We're upset with the COVID lockdowns and all that sort of shit, and it feels like a cultural thing, or not cultural thing, but an issue that you can use to divide people.
Yes, a wedge.
Yes, and that's what he did at his soapbox, but with a completely different issue that he's 100% right about.
Yeah, it was cool as hell. If I didn't know anything else about him, this event would have converted me fully. I would have been like, all right, I'm on board, all in. So it started out a little boring, actually. He plays on his family name a lot. That's what he's got. He's got this history of his beloved father and uncle. If you were around in the Kennedy days, you probably have very fond, nostalgic memories of these guys. And being a Kennedy, they gotta use that. Yeah. But the theme of this talk was that a very small number of organizations, I remember he brought up BlackRock a lot. Do you remember it?
BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are the 3 largest asset management firms, and how much they control businesses and
buying up land, buying up all the property.
Corruption. Yeah, yes, he's talking. His whole speech was focused on corruption, but specifically regarding the carbon capture pipelines that are being proposed and being heavily supported by the Biden administration, and which is a very unpopular issue in Iowa.
Yeah,
for
eminent domain. He brought up eminent
multiple
domain.
reasons. It's again an issue that is appealing to people on the right because they don't like the eminent domain, but on the left, it's like carbon capture
climate
pipelines
stuff.
are. Yeah, it's a Band-Aid solution that's basically like. I feel it's like basically we're going to keep drilling oil. We're going to keep taking fossil fuels out of the ground, but we're going to make it better and less environmentally damaging by trying to capture the carbon the carbon dioxide that is being used. And then there's also like, they want to take the carbon out of the air or, whatever industrial facilities and put it under the ground. But there's a lot of things where they're trying to basically use it to keep fracking. So like obviously you like push carbon dioxide underground. Some other stuff's going to squirt out elsewhere. So it's being heavily supported by, oil and fossil fuel industries for a reason. And those are like the main people pushing it.
That was a great point that he made was, they're trying to sell this idea to the public, these carbon capture pipelines, as a climate change mitigation strategy. And this is being pushed by these corporate interests that do not give a shit about climate change.
Mm-hmm. And are getting waivers and permits from the government to do it.
Yeah, this is not making the situation better. It's making it worse so that they can continue to generate more and more profits at the expense of the rest of us.
Yeah. It reminds me of the ethanol thing. Same sort of thing where it's just like you can spin it in a positive way, but it really is just furthering our dependence on fossil fuels.
Right. And I think I mentioned this on the other episode we did, but as we were sitting at the soapbox, directly to our right, across the way there was the Farm Bureau tent.
Mm-hmm.
So the son of a murdered Kennedy is on the stage in full view of the Farm Bureau, calling out Bruce Rastetter by name. Mm-hmm. He's just daring people. He knows the sniper dots are on him. RFK wants to be a martyr, dude.
I guess. Yeah, he's just touching those third rails.
Yeah.
Both hands just grabbing on, not letting go.
I have to respect him on some level. Like, some of this is cool.
Yeah, and it is fucking corrupt. I mean, similar to, Marianne kind of hit on a lot of the same stuff about, legalized bribery.
Yeah, she did. But he was like...
But not specifically like
he
this.
He was digging deeper, yeah.
And an issue that specifically affects Iowans in particular.
Geographically very focused. And he knew what the fuck he was talking about. Like, it came across completely genuine. Like, he had actually learned about this. Somebody coached him well.
Dennis Kucinich, man.
That's right. We were sitting there, and I looked to my left, and I was like, dude, is that Dennis Kucinich over there? Because we know that Kucinich works for his campaign, but he was there. He was off to the side. I was like, damn, that's pretty cool. And I thought that would be it. Like, oh, cool, we just saw Dennis Kucinich. But it got even better. Bobby called Dennis Kucinich up on stage. I call him Bobby because, like, I think I really like him now.
People were chanting Bobby when he first came out on stage.
Yeah.
I don't know what their angle was. It was weird. There's some weird people at the RFK event.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, these are the people that have these like strong memories of the Kennedys from when they were kids, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the Bobby thing comes from too, is that he's leaning into that. Like the editor of the Register who introduced him, right when she brought him out on stage, she called him Bobby that time. And I think he probably asked her to do that. Mm-hmm. Or she is one of those Kennedy nostalgia people.
I was looking at her face during Marianne and RFK, and I don't think she was very pleased with what they were saying.
You think she's a Biden bro?
We know what the media is about.
Yeah. So, okay, he brought Dennis Kucinich out on stage. We were screaming. The crowds love Dennis Kucinich. We all shout our admiration for him. Dennis, best presidential candidate of the 2000s. But Dennis came up on stage and remained utterly silent in front of us.
But he did. Bobby did refer to. He's like, I'm going to bring out Dennis Kucinich on stage to show you something. He's going to be my Vanna White.
Yeah. He turned over the letters. No, but he was holding a map of Iowa showing us where the carbon pipelines go. And Dennis was just like, he's basically an easel for Bobby, just holding the visual aid for us all.
I got a really good picture of them two and the two security guards.
Maybe, we can use that as the episode art so people can see what we're talking about.
But yeah, he was going off on the carbon capture. He was talking about how it's like pretty much unproven technology. They've tried it in some instances where it's like it cannot scale very well. They're only capturing like 2 to 3% of the carbon that's coming out of these places.
Yeah.
He talked about the possibility of ruptures, which have happened in the past, and how like people will literally suffocate to death, livestock will suffocate to death, cars can't drive because it's like just carbon dioxide. It's just gonna choke everything.
Yeah.
And that has happened in other instances.
Yeah, they're lying to the public about what can happen with these things.
It was also interesting to see. I mean, I think looking at where the pipelines are going to go, it's pretty much avoids all heavily populated areas. So like it cuts in between any major cities in Iowa, as far as I could see.
Yeah. While you were saying those percentages, it made me remember. You remember how like when Bernie hit the national scene, a big joke about him was like 1% of 1% of 10%, top 1/10 of 1%. That was a big joke, like how much he talks about numbers in his stump speech. This was more numbers than that, I think. The dude was giving us all the figures.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call him a compelling speaker. He's got, his issue with his vocal cords and whatnot, but I mean, that honestly, he came across as genuine.
Yeah, his like weird sort of throat situation, whatever caused that, I don't know, but I thought that would be more inhibiting than it actually was. Like,
yeah,
he gets through it just fine.
Yeah.
I should have said this before. When he was calling out Bruce Rastetter by name, he did fuck up the pronunciation of Rastetter many, many times in many different ways. And once he referred to him as Mr. Bruce to avoid having to say the last name again. I think my favorite like funny thing that happened during RFK was the first time he mentioned that his uncle was the president. One person in the crowd was like, "Woo!" Remember JFK?
They still love him. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean,
it's probably like the last best president we've had. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say because they're all so evil,
Mm-hmm.
JFK included. I mean, there's a reason the CIA killed him, but up to that point, like, he was doing anti-communism, imperialist stuff.
Yeah.
He just didn't do enough of it for their liking.
Right. RFK Jr. did hit on some anti-communism stuff too.
Yes, indeed. He visited Poland with his father as a young boy, and the victims of communism, the people living under communism, actually loved RFK, and they loved America, and they loved the Kennedy family because JFK so studiously avoided going to war with the Soviet Union. And the Soviet citizens knew that, and they loved him for it. I don't know, it sounds like maybe a simplification of American and world history.
Yeah. Wonder what RFK has had to say about Ukraine. I assume he's probably a pull it out in the war.
He did talk about that a bit at the soapbox. In my notes, I have mentioned that all of the Ukraine aid, it may sound like we are sending money to the people of Ukraine who need help, but really all that money is ending up in the hands of U.S. weapons manufacturers, which are all owned by groups like BlackRock.
Yeah. Now that you mention it. And then, I think he is pro negotiating a peace agreement, which is like, apparently it's not a cool thing to do.
That's a Republican position.
Yeah, that's a Republican convention position. It's ridiculous.
This is a just cause type of war. Well, as he concluded his soapbox remarks, he did not take any audience questions. And there was a man directly behind to our right who was really mad about that. And he was yelling at RFK, "Why aren't you taking questions, you coward? What are you afraid of?" And I got mad. I had to defend my man Bobby, and I yelled back, "He's afraid of you!" I
don't even know what that guy's angle was. Like, I don't know what his deal was at all, what he was even wanting to ask about.
Yeah. He didn't tell me. I think I was a little too aggro with him. We should have tried to interview him or something.
Yeah, we should have, actually.
My bad. I scared him.
There's also the no labels. There's a no labels like lady who was right before Bobby spoke. She was talking to a guy right behind us. And then she actually noticed Natalie's shirt and asked her about it because the sleeve that said "I'd rather have gum on my face" was visible. So we had to explain the story behind the shirt.
Yeah. Go back and listen to the last Christmas episode of Rock Hard Caucus if you don't know about the ray gun test print shirt that Evan got for Natalie. It's one of the most chaotic and insane T-shirts a person
Natalie's
could wear.
whole vibe was hilarious because she had the Rondee Santis fan, she had the WTF hat that she got or that you got her for Binky, and then she had the ray gun test print shirt, and also like a backpack that had like rainbow straps on it. Yeah. She's hard to pin down. You know, very confusing.
She's sort of like an undecided voter. I think that's the costume she had on. Oh yeah, there was something I forgot to say about Binky. So he took audience questions, and somebody asked him to go on their podcast, and he agreed. So I might go on his website and try to follow up and see if I can trick him into coming on to our show.
He's so boring. He wouldn't even be fun. It's like there's nothing even fun to troll him about.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the trouble of like getting a presidential candidate to get on Zoom with us, and then I end up scrapping it because it's like so fucking boring.
It's just gonna be awkward and boring.
Yeah. Well, that is all of the candidates that we saw over the past couple of days. How do you feel at the end of this, Evan?
Very tired, very confused, disoriented. Exhausted.
I don't know what I believe anymore.
Yeah, it all kinds of blends together at a certain point. It was good. Definitely seeing the Democrats yesterday was a nice bit of refreshing change versus hearing all of the Republicans where like literally the shit that they're saying just blends together for the most part. Literally the only one that sticks out to us at all is Vivek.
Yes.
Vivek.
Yeah, and they're all
Ramaswamy mentum is real.
It is. I was a skeptic going into this, but that dude is going places, I think, and we need to be afraid of Vivek. And so I feel like we've been desensitized a bit after hearing all these awful people saying all these awful things. I had a conversation with Natalie yesterday while we were, getting food and just hanging out a bit. It is appalling how mainstream transphobia has become as a major issue for this party. It's so unnecessary and just wrong. Like maybe this is just, I don't know, maybe this is obvious to say, but it's like even if you don't understand or you feel uncomfortable with the way someone lives differently than you, to immediately respond with just like hatred and mockery. Not only that, but to make that like a major part of your personality is disgusting and should be common, decent people should be repulsed by this. And people like Vivek are making that a cool thing to say in public to large groups of people. And that sucks.
Yeah. I mean, not just, it's all of them. Like I'm pretty sure every single candidate had something to say on that topic. And I mean, I guess the hope is that people will and do find it disgusting. I don't know what the odds are on that. I've seen some polls and such that it is unappealing to most voters.
Yeah.
But then when it comes down to it, I don't know. There's a lot of people who prioritize, who it just won't matter to them because they care about, like their tax rate.
They vote for their self-interest regardless of the social issues.
They don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they can easily, and it kind of works that they can just be like, well, it's like a small portion of the population or whatever. Like,
right. It's an easy scapegoat,
Yeah.
They don't have enough
and they don't
power.
have experience. People don't have experience like talking to trans people. I mean, some people do obviously, but
yeah,
it's something that is, I think, for a lot of people, something that they find like very out of the norm and
right.
Like,
it's sort of an unknown
alien.
It's a new concept to you, and so it's easy to take advantage of someone and turn that uneasiness into fear and hatred.
Yeah, for sure. It is sad and disturbing, and yeah, I hope it backfires.
Yeah, I mean it has. Some people's analysis of the 2022 midterms is that it did backfire nationally in a lot of ways, but unfortunately here it does not seem to have a negative effect on the Republicans.
Right, but I will say that I don't remember hearing any questions or any of the people we spoke to or any of the people we overheard talking about that as an issue that was important to them. There was no questions about gender ideology that I can even remember.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a silver lining. I don't know. I don't know the kind of people who show up to these events. I kind of figured there'd be some. There's plenty of kooks, but I kind of figured that there'd be some like real, they had all the Moms for Liberty people and stuff.
Yeah.
But I expected more confrontation. I expected more heckling. I expected more Trump supporters giving other candidates a hard time. There really wasn't much of that.
Yeah, it didn't happen around us at least, but I did see a news story today about a shouting match between a group of Ron bros and Trump tyrants. Let's call. I don't know. We'll use that. So there was some yelling, I guess, but we missed the major action yesterday because we just had to see Marianne and Bobby. Yeah, the big Trump event was happening during those last two soapbox events, but we didn't know where the fuck anything was happening.
Yeah,
so.
We didn't know what's going on, and it would have been probably a massive clusterfuck. I mean, it was a massive clusterfuck, and I'm kind of glad we missed out on it.
Yeah, we definitely made the right choice, keeping our good seats for Bobby.
Oh, for sure. That was, probably the highlight of yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so, things to take away. Fear Vivek. Cheer on Bobby to an extent. So let's end on something a little more fun. I have good news. We got a piece of mail in the Rock Hard Caucus P.O. Box. If you would like to send us a piece of physical mail, the address is P.O. Box 5336 in Coralville, Iowa 52241. The P.O. Box is 5336. And here we got a letter from our good friend, State Auditor Rob Sand. He was probably at the fair, but we didn't see him. I saw a booth that was for the state auditor, too. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We saw the Iowa Democrat booth at the Varied Industries building. There's a guy who blocked me on Twitter for simply retweeting.
He was there.
Him. He was there. He's the co-chair of the Iowa Democratic Party. If you're interested in checking him out, but he's kind of a funny fellow.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a state auditor booth in the Varied Industries building, but Rob was not there, unfortunately for us.
I didn't see that. Interesting.
This is a letter he sent us. We did. Oh shit! Before we get off the fair, we saw a guy in a Todd Halber shirt when we were leaving.
We did. We were walking. We were walking back to the car, and he was not in the fairgrounds. But he was wearing a Todd Halber shirt, and we were like, man, maybe he actually did run a campaign. But then I was like, no, probably he's just related to him.
Yeah, that was his campaign manager, actually.
Or he ran before, didn't he? Maybe it's an old shirt.
I don't remember. Yeah,
I might be wrong.
Okay, well,
anyway, it's very odd.
Our friend Rob kicked Todd Halber's ass last year, and
fuck Todd Halber. Fuck Rob Santis.
Fuck the auditors in general. How dare you look at my money, bitch? All right, Rob has called in a few times, and a nice thing he does for us is that he uses his real voice when he calls in. If you've ever seen a video on his Twitter or his Instagram or whatever, I
saw one today.
He affects kind of like a deeper, more like he's trying to sound cool.
Yeah, his voice is deeper than you might expect.
When he's doing the public-facing thing.
Not when he calls in our podcast, obviously, but when he's trying to do official business.
Let's his guard down a bit with us.
I got an Instagram ad, a video Instagram ad, with Rob talking into a camera, very sincerely, soliciting donations because partisan insiders are attacking the state auditor's office and preventing him from doing his job. Which I'm not sure how donating money to his campaign, whatever chest, is like really gonna help him do his job. I think he might have aspirations for a higher office than state auditor. But
yeah. The only way to undo the damage is for him to become governor and then reverse the law that limits the auditor's power.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes sense. Anyway, I'm gonna do my best to do an impression of our friend Rob while I read this letter he sent us. Hello, Rock Harders. It's me, your favorite guest caller and fifth chair. There's 4 quotation marks around fifth chair. State Auditor Rob Sand. There's a whole bunch of exclamation points on this too, so I'm trying to...
All caps also.
Yeah, I'm trying to put the enthusiasm in my voice too. Don't worry about the joke. I'm just having a good old-fashioned LOL with you. In this scenario, LOL stands for laugh out loud. I just thought I would send this little care package to my favorite politically moderate podcast as a thank you for letting me call in and preach the gospel of auditing and political moderation. 2 of my favorite things. My third favorite thing? Shooting a deer in the head with a crossbow. Maybe next time you all are in the neighborhood, we can go hunting. It's a thing I do all the time and for normal reasons. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My gift to the 4 of you is personalized with a nice little message. You can keep it next to your bedside table or you can sell it. Maybe hold on until my 99. Wow, so many. Another LOL here. County tour is up. And I make a certain announcement. Tee-hee. I'm sure the signature of Iowa's only Democrat is important and valuable. Just like my services. And hey, for serious, your wonderful podcast. Toodles! And then he sent us autographed headshots. A photo of him with a Culver's curd burger. We each got a copy of that. I gave you yours while I was in Des Moines, and I gave Natalie hers as well.
Yes.
And there's a personal message for all of us. What did yours say? Do you remember? Do you have it there?
I do. It says, Evan, wow, there's a cool fellow. And then his autograph, and yeah, I don't know if I'm cool or not. Probably not.
Yeah, we're a lot like
I
Rick
appreciate
Stewart.
it, Rob. Thank you for thank you. I think you couldn't hear me say that, but I said we're not cool either, Rick. But yeah, thank you for writing in, Rob. Thank you for the autograph picture.
Absolutely.
Thinking I might frame it.
Yeah, you may see it in the background of my Zoom from now on, back here.
Mm-hmm.
Mine says, Justin, wow, so good at podcasting. Natalie, unfortunately, I forget what yours said, but it was a nice message from Rob, our friend. And then I'll probably drive this over to Stella's house later this week. Stella, wow, I have a great admiration for beagles as well. It's a joke because she is a Basset Hound fan. So he said the wrong dog breed. I'm sure that That was another. It was an LOL from Rob. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Stella likes beagles too.
Yeah. I do greatly appreciate the message, Rob. I do have one correction. You called yourself the 5th chair of Rock Hard Caucus. You actually would be the 6th. I know that he doesn't make appearances very often anymore, but Chuck, our friend Chuck, of course, is one of the 5 members of the Rock Hard Caucus, the 5 core members. And so, Rob, I'm sorry, you are actually designated 6th chair.
Yes, but he's welcome back.
Absolutely.
Anytime,
yeah.
Sam.
Yeah.
It's an open invitation.
Yeah. Well, again, if you would like to send us a nice little letter like that, maybe send us an autographed picture of yourself too. I mean, I'll take any of those. If you like the show, I'd be glad to have a picture of you. P.O. Box 5336, Coralville, Iowa 52241. If you don't want to mail something, you could also call us 319-849-8733. And I think that's about all we had for tonight, right?
That's about it.
Yeah. Stay subscribed to the Rock Hard Caucus feed. I will be releasing an episode of I Hear I See Radio with the band Haploid on this feed sometime soon. Look out for that. We may also be making a guest appearance on another podcast sometime soon. So just we should probably keep quiet about the details, but get excited about that cryptic message, everyone. Thanks as always for listening, and goodbye from Rock Hard Caucus.
Thank you.
Time's up, over, blouse, and back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. He's so mad, but he won't give up. He's going back to these notes. He's so mad, he's going back, he's close. He goes back, he's so sad, he's goes back to this moment.